Harold Flanagan, age 42, from Des Moines, Iowa, never thought he'd end up on reality television. A quiet IT manager with a penchant for restoring vintage radios and watching squirrel videos on YouTube, Harold was what some would call a late bloomer. He'd only had 2 serious relationships in his life, one in high school that ended with a breakup note passed in biology class, and another in his early 30s that fizzled after he forgot their anniversary 2 years in a row. But when his younger sister Gretchen signed him up for TLC's Match Me Abroad, Harold was too polite and too single to decline. "Harold," Gretchen said, handing him the audition papers, "you need culture. You need adventure. You need someone who doesn't live within a 5-mile radius of a Casey's General Store." Now, 6 months later, Harold stood in the lobby of a 4-star hotel in Cartagena, Colombia, sweating profusely through a blue linen shirt that he thought was breathable. Cameras rolled. Lights glared. A producer whispered into a headset. This was it. First date day. "Harold, meet Isabella," the show's Colombian matchmaker announced, introducing him to a poised, elegant woman in her late 30s with flowing black curls and a confidence that made Harold's spine straighten involuntarily. Isabella gave him a once-over and smiled politely. "You are charmingly nervous," she said in Spanish-accented English. Harold adjusted his glasses. "That's actually my default setting." The date was planned meticulously by TLC's producers, a salsa dancing lesson for energy, a street food tasting tour for culture, and a sunset boat ride through Cartagena Bay for romance. Harold had never danced salsa, never eaten arepas, and hadn't been on a boat since 1998. This was going to go great. They arrived at a small studio where a local instructor, Julio, greeted them with the energy of a man who had consumed 3 espresso shots and a Red Bull. Latin music blared. Cameras circled like sharks. Harold immediately stepped on Isabella's foot. "Lo siento," he shouted louder than necessary. "You're okay," she said, smiling through what was clearly pain. Julio shouted, "Movimiento de cadera," and demonstrated a hip movement that looked more like a snake trying to do jazz hands. Harold attempted to copy it. He dislocated something. Or it felt like it. He wobbled like a giraffe on roller skates, collided with a mirror, and caused a small domino effect of studio props crashing to the floor. Producers shouted. A lighting rig wobbled. Isabella covered her mouth in disbelief, then laughed. Hard. "You are unique," she said, dabbing tears from her eyes. "I'm told I'm like a human Roomba," Harold replied, dazed. "I move around awkwardly and occasionally knock over furniture." Still sweaty from the salsa disaster, Harold and Isabella strolled through a bustling Cartagena plaza filled with colorful food stalls. "This looks amazing," Harold said, staring at a vendor slicing open a deep-fried plantain stuffed with beef and cheese. Isabella handed him an arepa. "Try this." Harold took a bite. His eyes widened. "Oh wow. This is..." His sentence ended with a violent coughing fit. "Too spicy. Way too spicy." His face turned beet red. He stumbled to a nearby fountain, where a group of children were playing. He dunked his head into the water. The children screamed. A mother swatted him with a chuo. "You okay?" Isabella asked, fighting laughter. "I think I inhaled a ghost pepper," he wheezed. Later, he insisted on trying a dish called hormigas culonas, giant toasted ants, a local delicacy. He popped one into his mouth for the camera. Crunch. Isabella raised an eyebrow. "So, how is it?" "Like if a peanut had trauma," he said. The final act. A romantic boat ride on a vintage schooner, complete with string lights, wine, and a violinist. TLC flew in for dramatic effect. The sun began its descent, golden light bathing the horizon. A breeze fluttered Isabella's hair. Harold looked at her, genuinely moved. "This is nice," he said, finally relaxing. She smiled. "It is." Cue disaster. Halfway through the ride, the boat jerked violently. The violinist stumbled. A bottle of wine toppled. TLC in turn screamed. "Is that smoke?" Isabella asked, pointing. It was. From the engine room. The boat had caught fire. Panic erupted. Crew members scrambled. A dinghy was lowered. Harold tried to help but got tangled in a life jacket strap, spun around like a confused turtle, and accidentally pushed the violinist overboard. "Sorry," he shouted, diving in after him. Isabella was evacuated safely. Harold and the violinist clung to a flotation cushion until a water taxi retrieved them. The violinist lost his bow. Harold lost a shoe. "He is not like anyone I've ever met. There was a lot of chaos. But he is sweet, honest, sincere. And he did save that poor musician. I don't think I nailed it. I mean, I sank a boat. But I think we laughed. And that's something." The next day, Isabella met with the matchmaker and the producers. "Do you want to see Harold again?" they asked. Isabella hesitated, then smiled. "Yes, but maybe no dancing this time." Harold, meanwhile, was practicing salsa steps alone in his hotel room, watching a tutorial on his laptop. "I think I'm getting better," he muttered, knocking over a lamp. In the world of love abroad, not everything goes according to plan. But for Harold and Isabella, sometimes a disastrous first date is just the beginning of an unforgettable story. Tune in next week as Harold attempts Colombian karaoke and maybe wins Isabella's heart.